So your experience dates back to when things weren't so.
Oh yeah, Hammond is my home. I love the residents in the city of Hammond. As far as the councilman at large, I've talked to a lot of people throughout the city, and I've enjoyed the conversation. And I've seen people that put money into their homes and done all the right things, and they talk to me. They say, oh, if only the city government would do this. But we don't feel that we have a voice. Not saying that the politicians aren't talking to, but they may not be listening, or that citizen that's concentrating all their efforts in their home isn't really involved in the political process, but they still have wants, needs, desires. Just like an individual says, I wish I could get a job. To see that look in their eye, to see that they are willing to extend themselves to do what it takes to put some money on the table to support their family, their kid, or their buying habits. And I can bring that. That's an intangible that I can bring to the table and say, listen, at the end of the day, what is it that we can do in order to provide an opportunity for somebody to make a living? What's out there that we can attract into the city of Hammond that will feed into the Hammond tax base, that will stabilize the community, that will make our city a better city? I know that we can do that. Absolutely. Every successful city across America has had people that thought about community. Not political parties, not personalities, not pettiness, but what is it that I can contribute that will make my city a better city? And as you go forward and you involve yourself in the technologies that are out there, you're able to tap into those resources and apply them to an economic sound planning to bring those people in here to do what you thought in the first place, to make it a better city.
And as you mentioned, the technologies that are out there, aren't there? Didn't Mayor Diedlow do something with fiber optics and some of the stuff? And we've had programs here with Joe Gomestego and how they stated that if we would have pursued some of that, if we would have continued to pursue it, a lot of the jobs that went overseas would not be there, because the government in India, for instance, they're able to do all of this, and that's why you have a lot of these phone companies or a lot of these call centers that are all the way in India, because we don't have the capabilities technology-wise to handle that influx. And we could have did that in this country.
Absolutely, Rich. It's seeing what's out on the horizon and planning for it and developing your infrastructure that you can have that same capacity in the city of Hammond and bring those types of jobs in. A friend of mine on Facebook, I use that as social media, Bud Leviathan, I'm probably hacked up his name. He put out a video, and sometimes I look at this stuff, sometimes I don't. I looked at it and I said, oh, wow, this is the next generation of fiber optics. It's actual video learning and video marketing presentation, and seeing what's taking place as far as discussions at the table or inventions in the lab or chemistry discussions and sharing formulas. Instead of reading a 50-page document, you're actually seeing it in real time, in real life, and you can apply those same concepts. And it's a video. It's seeing and doing. And I think that that's the next logical step of fiber optics.
And those jobs and those companies will fill the empty buildings that exist in Hammond.
Absolutely.
All right, and create an environment in downtown Hammond, which would be very, very dynamic.
Oh, absolutely.
Because let's face it, when people talk and you read the paper and they say, well, we have no jobs, we haven't done this. You know, ladies and gentlemen in the region, durable goods are not the future for Hammond. All right, the steel mills are there. They've cut down. We need to start thinking about technology. All right, there are a lot of jobs that are offered that are in technology. We are just south of Chicago. And I'll tell you, Chicago brings an intelligence that could overflow into this area because of our proximity to the lake and all the other resources that we have here. But we need somebody like you to think, all right, in that realm, and to really, really, I mean, you've been back there, you've watched the city develop, and now here's your opportunity, and Hammond, here's your opportunity to bring a gentleman on board that understands what direction we need to take. You know, Joe, we got to forget about that gaming boat, baby. It's going to be gone in a couple of years. And don't put your head in the sand and say, oh, well, we're always going to have $35 million. We're $160 million in debt.
Right.
How are you going to do that? Are you going to continue on building roads and everything and doing sewer projects? Some of them are necessary, I understand, but what good are they if the houses or if they lead to nowhere?
What there again, it's don't choke on the whole loaf of bread. You take it apart and you say, listen, money in, money out, wants versus needs. Infrastructure is a great thing, but if it doesn't lead to anything, then what you're doing is pouring money literally down a drain. So you have to look at stabilizing your neighborhoods. These are taxpayers. So the biggest investment anyone's ever going to make in their life is their home. So you have to have a proper streetscape that looks good and attractive because of the turnover that actually occurs through a population. On the industrial side, you have to be able to make sure that product, that waste product goes down the drain is literally in a separated system that is treated and then turns around. And you can, the sanitary district's doing something very interesting where there's various chemicals, and I won't get into the particulars, but there's a nitrate base effluent, which is the water going out, that is going to be used to fertilize corn fields that will go to ethanol plants, which will in turn generate energies that will be used to fuel various industries.
So there's a byproduct that Hammond could market.
Absolutely.
That's going to be produced here. Yes. You know what? Do you want to take a couple phone calls, Joe?
Absolutely.
Okay, you know what? Let's open up the phone lines, 845-1100. This is Joe McCarthy. He's running for councilman at large in the city of Hammond. And I think you've done I think we gave a little background to where Joe's coming from. He's lived here all his life. He's been involved in politics all his life to some degree. He's on a couple of commissions. So let's light him up. Go ahead. Let me take one phone. First phone call. Hey, thanks for calling.
Hey, good morning, Joe. Hey, listen, Joe, I never want to identify myself politically, but I do identify myself like a proud American, Republican, conservative, Catholic of Polish heritage. Otherwise, I won't say any more about my political leanings there.
A real American.
But, Joe, I'll tell you what, stand up with pride that you're a Republican. Rich gave you a question there, and Governor Daniels said something about a bad image here that Lake County has. And what was the response from the Democrats? They start name-calling people. Rather than take the approach, we do have a bad image. What can we do to change that image? And I think that should have been your approach. I'm going to try to change the image of Lake County that's controlled by the Democrats there.
Joe, you know what? We got a lot of phone calls. We'll answer that question, okay?
Yeah,
thanks for calling.
Appreciate it.
I don't know, Joe. I don't know if you have enough time to change the image, but I understand where Joe's coming from. I think I like the way you've done things, though. You've participated. You don't get really. I mean, you're not at council meetings yelling and screaming your ideologies. You know, you're there and you're available.
I try to engage in a conversation, and sometimes people will see their position was, well, okay, but we can do. It's a changing, and there's nothing wrong with changing a position if it's based on good information, But if people feel that they're locked into a position, whether it's right or wrong, they'll go to the wall with it because they feel that they can't say anything else. They don't want to look ridiculous. But the ridiculous point is that they're in a bad position and they just refuse to acknowledge it.
That's the most embarrassing thing when you have an argument with your wife and all of a sudden through the whole argument you realize, man, I'm not right.
The key to a successful marriage is yes, honey.
Hey, thanks for calling.
Quick question for you.
Sure.
You made a comment about needs and wants. I'm paraphrasing.
Yes. Okay.
Separate our needs from our wants. It seems this is again just one guy's opinion here in Hammond. And I am a Republican. I'm a conservative person.
Okay.
With it second, it seems that this city has spent an awful lot of time in the last 8 years with what I would call a vote buying program, whether it be homebound, college bound, this bound, that bound. We're giving that vote money away to everybody that's got their hand out. In my opinion, for anything. If you're a Republican, at what point do you say, you know what, I don't believe in this program. I don't believe it's the government's job to use vote money for this program or that program. Real specifics. What do you think we've basically kind of wasted some money on over the years that you would like to see us get rid of? Or fund in another way. Let's put it that way. Maybe even not get rid of. I'll give you the option and find another way to fund it.
Well, the corporate sponsorship is a key. And
that's the key to college bound, and it should have been the key for a long time.
Well, I mean, needs analysis. You could walk in here and say, put your finger up to the wind and say, I think everybody's talking about this, but seriously, looking at the bottom line and saying these programs do need to be evaluated. I'm in big favor of college bound, but at the same time, there has to be an end game where a lot of these kids that are graduating college are taking these degrees and heading all points out of Hammond,
right?
Because there isn't a backstop. There isn't somewhere that they can.
There's no way to measure the success of college bound. At least I don't know. I mean, I haven't seen my value in my house go up. there's just a lot of things that we need to get another perspective of and
think
figure
we
out
did.
what's going on
We
here.
just did.
Man,
A needs assessment is the first route you have to go. But quality of life issues are very important. They are an intangible that lead to a successful city.